back. This
It's good to be
is
back.
yes. We talked last time in February around 20th, give or take, and I got a whole list up there. Gonna pull up on my phone here. Uh, I'm gonna apologize to everyone else here because every time I pull up my video, it's lagging or something. So I don't know. It's annoying. Yeah, can't see my lovely face. Gonna have to just skip out on that one for a little bit. Okay, what exactly? Someone sent me a. Ooh, okay, okay. Someone sent me a text message. I'm just taking a look real quick here. Yeah, okay. I'm back here. I'm back. Let's pull up that list here. You got it in front of you?
Yes, I do have the list right in front of me.
Yeah, I'm doing the same right now. That list. Okay. The first thing I want to start off with was the Israel politics.
Yes.
I did a short video, 15 seconds, got over 1,000 views, and a lot of people who were angry with me. And even though I ended up correcting some stuff, I never heard back from any of the people who actually left comments. That bothers me, and it's really annoying just because it's like I said something that got either it wasn't as accurate as it could be. Uh, so that was on me, but I don't believe it was wrong. I I could have been more accurate, yes, but I don't believe it was wrong because here's the thing, and this is part of the reason why you've been asked, "Hey, let's go talk about this," is because if it ever gets banned, Christianity ever gets banned in one place, it's going to have a ripple effect and go elsewhere. Like in other countries, people will start considering it. This is a very much hated religion, even though it doesn't exactly fall within the parameters of a religion itself. Man-made structure. Yeah. Uh,
Well, the situation in Israel is very unique. I don't think if it starts in Israel, it would spread. If it starts in another country, it would spread more in like a secular country. But Israel has does not have a majority Christian population, unlike a country like Italy.
well, it's not central to one particular region or country or nation, if that's what you're referring to.
But no, if a country is majority Christian, why would that country consider banning the religion? That just doesn't make any sense. They're smarter
Um,
than that.
Part of the reason why it makes sense is because people who like doing things that are wrong and all that. Let me throw something out there. People who like stealing money, any sort of trafficking
Yes.
victims, they hate things that are upright and good, and they hate things that oppose them. Because the idea
Yeah.
is anything that disrupts their cash flow is something to keep an eye on.
Secular countries already have set the laws prohibiting like stealing, killing, all
Like
those
China.
basic
Oh,
moral character.
never mind. You went a different route. China already
Yeah.
has a ban on Christians in
Yes.
place as it
They
is.
are they are they have a minority Christian population.
Yeah.
Majority of the country is secular.
When I said about the whole like once it's banned in one country, it'll go to another,
Yeah.
I was not actually thinking of China. Inner Mongolia is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I had a friend there, a family missionary. He was there, and like everything was screened, and it was basically you send anything out to him, make sure you delete all references to God or Jesus because him and his family
Uh,
will get killed. He's actually back stateside. He's been back. I want to say roughly.
in Mongolia,
Ooh,
really?
yes,
Mongolia
he
got rid of their communist government decades ago.
yeah, but I don't remember when he came back. I think he came back over a decade ago, but I really don't remember.
Oh
I just
yeah.
remember seeing him pop up at my family's home, when my parents' home, and like it was like, dude, wow, I haven't seen you in like forever. And I saw his like his wife, his kid, and like he had to come back stateside because his son actually needed treatment. So
Mm,
he's teaching over here. He's a I want to say he's an English professor, and that's why he's back here stateside. He got married when he went back over there the second time. He ended up getting married. So very cool, but very dangerous work. Um,
wow. Wow.
but anyway, that the whole point
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is it's not necessarily that Christianity itself is dangerous. It's the fact of what it represents and all of that. And
Yeah.
people do not like it because it directly challenges them. It's one of the very few faiths that actually opposes men and their desires, so to speak. Like try to keeps it in check, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
interesting to
but
note that.
I just would say like you 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 don't have to fear a a mass Christian ban around the world anytime soon or in any individual country. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I'm going to keep an eye on things, but I'm not seeing
Yeah,
anything either. So
yeah,
in that the first checklist there, it's got the thing that you sent me with
yeah,
the YouTube video. I can't say his name. No
yeah,
law will pass in that harms
yeah.
Christianity, Israel.
Yeah, I want to explain that a little bit about exactly what happened. Um, so Israel is a parliamentary democracy. They have multiple parties that you could form a coalition, so that they get a majority of the seats. Because no individual party has a majority of the seats, which means over 50% of the seats.
All right.
So you have a you have the main party Likud, which has 32 seats, and you have other large parties like Yesh Atid, another liberal conservative party, religious Zionist, a more populist right wing religious party, 14 seats, and you have some smaller conservative, religious, and even ultra Orthodox parties. Now, there's one party that's 7 seats, United Torah Judaism.
Okay.
Two of its members proposed a law that
Yeah.
wanted to ban preaching of any religion one unto another. They expressed interest on doing that, enforcing it with Islam and more importantly, Christianity.
When did?
But it
Oh,
didn't even get full traction in their own party, let alone the major parties, the Likud and Yesh Atid, all struck it down.
okay, so it was actually including others, and for I
Yeah,
guess for drama really reasons, they ended up just being like, "Oh, it's about Christianity." Okay, got it.
yeah,
When did it?
they kind of wanted to stir things up, but there was no possibility we get past.
Yeah, that would make sense from what you've told me, and I think some other people as well, is about the whole like there's a whole bunch of people who know each other and the connections, and like you shut one down,
Yeah,
it shuts them all down. How long
yeah.
ago was that anyway? Because I found this out. I remember hearing about this in the news, but I don't remember how long ago.
I think it was like in March.
March, April, May.
Yeah,
It's the second here of June, so two
yeah,
months ago.
yeah. About two
About
months
two
ago
months
or
ago.
so. Yeah,
All right. Thank you for that. That was
no problem.
that was actually something I forgot about, but
Yeah,
yeah, semi-important. All
yeah.
right.
This
So
is pretty important
you remember
to
that video?
understand an issue. Yeah. Yeah.
Was I cutting in and out then, or what?
No.
Okay, so remember that end times prophecy video, and I actually
Yeah.
I
That's
still never finished it. I meant to go back to it. I got close to the end, but I never fully finished it. I never got to the part that actually was supposedly really inflammatory. And
yeah. It looks very problematic. The whole video. Uh like we could do a breakdown of this, or we could just focus on a couple of parts.
well,
But there's
what?
just a lot here. It looks like just a mesh of random information, conspiracy theory. Just it doesn't make any sense.
The first part is actually what majorly caught my interest with the birds attacking the flag, trying to tear down the flag in the very beginning.
What'd you say?
The birds attacking the flag at the very beginning here. Uh, I'm
Oh,
gonna I'm gonna see about playing this again real quick. All right. So
what
I think this
what did
was.
you say?
Am I cutting in or out or what?
You cut out again. But what'd you say?
What I'm saying is I was just playing the video. It
Yeah.
looks like they were trying to. Looks like they were trying to tie in the whole like Christian being banned in Israel to the fact the birds were attacking Israel
Yeah.
flag and ripping that down. Um, that's actually part of the reason why I ended up getting really like surprised about this because I'm like, well, if this did happen, I wouldn't be surprised if the birds were trying to shred the flag.
Now, one thing, did they happen at the same time?
They didn't
If
specify.
so, then yeah, that's the thing. They don't specify. They take a bunch of clips that have nothing to do with each other at different times, and they try to tie it together. They make it appear it ties together.
Yeah, yeah. That's usual though. People are like it's
Yes.
clickbait,
Yeah,
drama.
this is complete clickbait, inflammatory, dramatic. It's it's unfortunate.
Well, when you're trying to get views, when you're trying to,
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna people will do a lot to get that extra view or
Yeah.
two. And to be fair, if you are monetized and the more people who
Yeah.
view it, the more outrageous some people go for because it's all about the views and not
Mm-hmm.
about the content.
Yeah. At the end, I should show. You should look at the end here. They try to make it Judaism satanic. They bring like it looks like satanic symbols. This is not really Jewish. It's just like a cabal.
Yeah, maybe if there's a good angle, but if not, wading through
No,
a bunch.
there's no good angle here. It's straight up
Well,
anti-Semitism.
hear me out here. If someone says this is wrong and this is why, and they go into an angle that you're not even aware of that never actually hits you because you're not there, you're not a part of that. That one makes sense because they're coming up with something direct. But for me to wade in the midst of all that, not even knowing where I'm at, because that has nothing to do with me, I'm going to end up getting lost. So like unless someone says there's a good reason to get involved with that, I would only stick to a surface level search to see what I could find. Maybe talk to
All
some
right.
friends. Yeah, see if there's anything that they have in mind. Talk about it, and again, I have a whole list here of stuff to actually talk about. Um, yes, you did help me with this one. Thank you. When it comes down to the list that we have here, some of the things I'm just it's not something that I've done much research on. It's not something that's actually involved in my life directly, to be honest. Um, because when it comes down to your faith, that's something that you practice, and I I haven't. So you know more about this stuff than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. You know, people usually um don't care about foreign politics unless unless it hits the news, and then they only look at that one thing. They don't look at anything around it. They don't look at the trends of the country. You know,
yeah.
this story is probably the first time Christians heard about Israel in like 2 years or whatever.
Well, considering the fact that the what do you call it? The media is controlled over here, so there's a lot of people who stick with the
Yeah,
mainstream traditional
yeah.
media. CNN, Fox, NBC. You got
Well,
all
people
these.
don't go out the way to like do a little research. They just like sit down, watch the TV, and that's the only news they get.
Well, considering people like Tim Pool have actually
Yeah,
He has a lot more success now. Him,
yeah,
he does a great job. Moon doesn't really do much research as far as like up to day's content, but when he does do research on particular topics, the guy is amazing. Upper Echelon is one of my favorites, but it's the same thing with. It's somewhere between Tim Pool and Moon with the whole like this is an issue and this is what's happened recently. So he goes right smack between the two with some very interesting stuff. And he's talked quite a
yeah.
bit about cryptocurrency. He's talked about
Mm.
people who are a danger, which it ties in a little bit with both Tim Pool and Moon. Like I was saying, like
You know, I have my criticisms with Tim Pool. I think he fear mongers a lot. He tries to say like, I don't know if this is really gonna happen, but he starts out with saying, "This is huge, guys. This is devastating. You guys should be like." It's the same thing that news agencies do. They bring fear mongering drama, and bits and
it's
pieces of news. You know, he doesn't. I don't think he actually does research. Also, like
well,
actual
he's got a
research.
team. He doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily do all the research himself because he has a team. He specifically was hiring for others either
Mm,
last year or the year before last year. I remember seeing him talking
mm,
about like, hey, if you want to be a part of my team, send something here or check down below and send your resume here. Because he was specifically looking for people to work with him to
yeah.
actually build up a team of some kind. So he's not doing this by himself. He's doing most of the talking,
Yeah.
and he is biased, and he'll talk about where he stands on some of these issues. But
Yeah.
I think he's been fairly transparent in a lot of that. So
Yeah. You know, I would like someone who, I think it would be better if someone's not dramatic, someone who straight, breaks things down, talks about the whole thing, the whole topic, and
yeah,
who's not biased. That's the most important, not biased. That's what we need these days.
well,
We can't have biases.
he's involved with politics. So you're if you're
Yes.
trying to get someone outside politics to even have an interest in politics, you're gonna have a you're gonna have a tough time trying to find anyone, unfortunately. I'm not saying he's
Is
I'm not saying he's the best. I'm saying at the moment,
yeah.
compared to all the others out there, I haven't found anyone better personally. So yes, I hear you with the whole like having issues with him because I'm not exactly
Yeah.
on board with him either. I will say this from the content that I've watched, him specifically asking questions and pointing towards a specific narrative with fear mongering, I get it,
Yeah.
but I have not watched his recent stuff, his recent videos. If he is fear mongering, that's something that started recently.
He's been doing that for a few years now.
Uh,
From I don't I see it as fear mongering. Maybe you don't. A lot of people don't, but I
when
see, what the right's just doing the same thing the left is doing, fear mongering, clickbait, just false news.
what I am hearing from him is basically this is an issue, this is a concern. When you are raising up points that are critical, points that are important, points that are dangerous, and you're
Yeah,
talking about them for an extra a longer than normal amount of time, I I wouldn't automatically put that under fear mongering. Um, I would, however, say that if he's going on and on about it because of something related to the news that had just happened. I'm trying to think of a good example, but again, I haven't seen any of his videos recently, so I can't pull anything up specifically. I want to say there's been stuff going on with, ooh, you know what?
I could give a good example of this.
Really, yeah.
Ukraine war, specifically a story that came out about Bakhmut. He followed a article about which it came out to be Russian disinformation. Like it was quite obvious that they claimed they had taken Bakhmut that day. That and the Wagner group put up a flag. And what actually happened is that Russia had already taken Bakhmut 2 weeks before. The Wagner group went into a small village outside of Bakhmut and
Yep.
raised up a flag. It was a small push, nothing major.
I remember. I
And
remember
but
reading
on
about.
the other side, Ukraine is preparing for major offensive. And to the south of Bakhmut, they pushed Russia back, and it looked like they were trying to surround them. This I got from a military, like some soldier does a breakdown of the Ukraine war and stuff, and
Well,
that's where I
there's
got
a
that
few
from.
people. Yeah, there's a few people who do that sort of
Yeah,
breakdown thing. Yeah.
yes, but and then lastly, he constantly touts about this is World War Three. World War Three is about to start.
Yep. I remember hearing about that too in some
Yeah,
videos. Yep. He talks quite a bit about the left when talking about issues and problems. Here's a video. The name of the video: "The left is pro-war and it's destroying the country." When he takes a stance, when he takes a pro-war stance and has an entire, excuse me, video talking about that, yes, I would
yeah.
see that as fear mongering for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, how much time do I got? I got less than 10 minutes here.
Yeah.
Great, I need to upgrade. Woo, upgrade to pro. You know what? Like I said, I've been thinking about doing it, but the yearly subscription does kind of kill it.
Yeah.
I probably will. I probably will
Yeah.
at some point.
We might be doing this talk more often, so I think it would be a good idea.
I would like to get more people on board with this
Yeah.
because having conversations about specific topics is, well, as far as with my particular channel, it's important. And the fact is, some of the stuff is not talked about. And I'm not talking about politics.
Hmm.
God knows that there's only
Yeah.
specific angles that.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I can't even say that. Politics covers a lot, but there's a lot that is specifically pushed under as false narrative, pushed over as misinformation, and even talking about that. When people throw garbage all over stuff that they don't like, that often includes the truth. So that's
Mhm.
really hard. Even if you do talk, this stuff is just a mess. I hate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, all I think before I move on, I will agree with a friend of mine. The Republican side and the Democrats, they have issues. Both of them have issues.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't like taking sides at all with politics just because I'm like, that's an issue and that's an issue. I don't like either one of you. Now I'm going to step over here. Okay, moving on. Oh, Tim Pool. Yeah. Okay, let me see here. Evolution versus creation was next on the list here.
Yes.
Uh, let me read what you have written down here. Okay, backing up here to what
Yeah. We had a long debate a while back in the chat about
I'm literally right here. Jay was
evolution
saying
versus Christianity.
Jay
Evolution versus creation.
Jay was responding to someone else who says, "I'm here to force lightning. I hear you can't learn that from a Jedi." And then Jay responds with, it's pretty interesting. If you play Star Wars Jedi Academy, you can actually learn force lightning as a Jedi." Uh, yes, there's a light side variation of it that does not tap into anger, supposedly. And Kai Plun in the Star Wars, and you can see him in Star Wars Episode 3, but it goes more in depth in I want to say the comics, the books, and anything else other than the videos. And the guy has been able to beat Yoda with a very weaker variant orange lightsaber, which is kind of cool. But uh, pretty much what I was just saying. He learned about Force Lightning, but the problem was he ended up getting killed when he went with Mace Windu along with the other Jedi because he got paralyzed by the Force screen that Sidious let out before attacking. That is very interesting how he was able to. I can't remember if he got between the blade that was aimed towards Mace Windu because someone ended up jumping in between, giving Mace Windu time to recover to end up try to take on Sidious. So there's a whole discussion about that, but the point is, force lightning from a Jedi is something that you could learn, but there's only a handful of people ever knew about it to begin with. Anyway, he finishes up by saying, to me, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool and kind of confusing. Isn't that a kind of power forbidden by a Jedi? Which I went into it
Here,
because it
this
doesn't tap
is
into anger. It's a
wait,
judgment type of ability.
no, that's not it.
I couldn't define it right off the top of my head, but I do remember saying that it does not tap into anger and is a type of judgment. Beyond that, I would have to look it up specifically. You responded back
Here,
with,
this is the you're looking at the wrong conversation.
"Oh, okay, well
You're
that was
looking at the
fun.
wrong conversation. That was
Yeah,
talking about who God was. But
well
here there was like a
that was a
long
fun
like
detour.
yeah.
That was a fun detour. Yeah, you were saying in response to I
Yeah,
don't
I
even know what
just
the
sent
person's
you
name is.
I just sent you this
Maligan.
the message link.
Yeah, Maligan is the one who says, for one, Allah is not loving, and you responded with, that's
You're
because,
still looking at the wrong conversation here.
you know what, you go ahead and say it then because I'm thinking I'm talking about the right
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Go
Look
for it.
at the I just sent you the message link on Telegram.
Go for it, read it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get it wrong if I
So
don't. If I
they
get it.
we were talking about I don't remember where this started, but we were talking about someone was criticizing um saying that you know you know creation, science goes against creation and creation goes against science and whatnot. Um, but I have a much different view of it. Science and creation go hand in hand. That there's many debates about this. One of my favorite explanations is that God created the world already like 14 billion years old, however old science says it is. And he created it to look like that, although he created it like 5,782 years ago in the Jewish calendar.
Well,
And
this is Chris Otis here talking about, and he's someone who actually is a friend with me on Facebook.
hmm,
He believes evolution, and this is part of what you sent me. Evolution is a scientific
yeah,
fact, and the existence of evolution
yes,
also proves God's good work. As nature, God,
hmm,
parentheses, God put the whole process in motion so many millions of years ago.
yes,
Um, Maturity, when talking about celestial bodies, happens to be very differently if it happens at all, because in this is I'm hesitating on saying that it's organic material. I want to say that celestial bodies can have organic material, but overall, the decay rate is very different. I don't know how that looked like all those years ago, because the idea that has been presented, and I do not remember what name it falls under, but it is that our universe is ever expanding from a single point. Or rather, it's
yes,
expanding and it
yes,
shows that it came from one specific point at one point in time, um,
yes,
which is very interesting. We have like 2 minutes and 20 seconds left.
yeah. I want to continue talking about this when we open it up again, open up the Zoom meeting again.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but first, I want to add that you said the universe expanded from a single point. The Zohar, an ancient Jewish text, like 2,000 years ago, says that God created the universe starting from the single point of light and expanded outwards.
Well, even if he did, he may not have created humans right then and there. He could have been waiting for
No, but
change.
that could be like, and that I want to also mention that it says 6 days, but 6 days in God's eyes could be different, could be longer, could be those billions of years. I've heard that interpretation before.
And it also could be, since everything was apparently one landmass that ended up splitting into several, it could just be like one
Yes.
side of the continent to the and then you have dinosaurs on the other side of the continent. Like realistically, who knows? Because the Bible never talks about dinosaurs. It never says there are these
Well,
things
also the
running around.
Bible, the it doesn't talk about in-depth creation at all. It's one chapter. It's a few verses. Because
Well,
one, that's not the main point, and we should be focusing on all the teachings of it, all the laws, all the stories, stuff.
yeah, well, if they would have ever thought about to do maps back then, maybe a lot of the stuff could have been cleared up. As it is, there were some maps, but not much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, let's pick up
Yep.
the next part was the denominations in Judaism, the sects, and
Yes.
Christianity. All right, let's stop here and
Yeah.
start the next one.
Yeah.
All right. So we're starting. This is the second one here,
Yeah.
and uh, starting back at the denomination in Judaism and sex
Yeah.
and Christianity. When it comes down to sex and
Yeah.
Christianity, I really don't want to talk about it because there's way too many Protestant,
Yeah. Yeah.
evangelical, Baptist.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into it because
Yeah.
trying to figure all that out is honestly, I don't think it's necessary. I just that's me. That's on a personal level. And you know what? You could summarize everything up in that light bulb joke on how many people does it take to change a light bulb, and they just go
Oh,
down
boy.
the whole list of like zero because they don't believe in change, or it's just it is a funny mess when it comes down to trying to just make a joke that encapsulate the entire denomination.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
kind of get something similar, but in Judaism you don't have nearly as many because like everything when you have a single issue in Protestantism, it just splits into a different church. It keeps splitting until you have like a single community. Each community is like a different church, but you don't have that. You don't really have that in Judaism. Um, for good reason, I think,
Yeah, go on.
because in Judaism, for the longest time, we've been persecuted. We can't afford to. We don't have the luxury of just being able to split up and start hating each other. Until really today, you didn't really have that for like a good 1,500 years. After the destruction of the temple, you just had rabbinic Judaism. And for the longest time, even disagreements on issues, and yet you did have one community take this issue and then the community take that issue, but
What
both
are you talking
it
about?
both traditions are correct. Both traditions are correct. Because of that, we stayed together. We recognize that he is right and he is right in doing that, even though they're doing different things.
What part are you talking about was present?
Ashkenazi and Sephardi Jews. You have Ashkenazi Jews from Eastern Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, and Sephardi from Spain, and Mizrahi Jews too, but they're basically almost the same as Sephardi, and they're from North Africa and the Middle East.
Uh, mm,
But they each have different traditions, like different ways of praying. They eat different foods. They what else? They
if you don't
they
know this off the
have
top of your head, you could I could probably look it up and pull up
yeah
a general description, but I don't think that would do it justice. When you're pulling this up, these relate to Judaism and what
yes.
shape or form. Because do they cover different portions of the Talmud, or is
They
this
all
tied with the
they
law?
all
Or
agree
what?
with the same Torah, the same Mishnah, the same Talmud, the same all the same books. But you have later stuff when they codified the law, they disagreed on it. Sephardim and Ashkenazi, they have slightly different laws. Like on Passover, um, what things count as what we call um, le- uh, um, leavened bread. It's what counts as leavened bread. The Ashkenazi say you can't eat rice or
When you're talking about the
other
law,
grains
you're
on
talking about the law back then, not now.
it still is today. It's this this kind of phenomenon still exists today
Okay. So,
between Sephardi and Ashkenazi Jews.
so you're talking
So
about these.
Sephardi could eat rice on um during Passover when we're not allowed to eat leavened
Oh,
bread,
jeez.
but Ashkenazi cannot.
So you're talking about these parties are actually tied in with the law directly, were they added to the
Yes,
law?
yes,
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Da 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 da. Hasidic, that actually somehow rings a bell, but I'm trying to remember where. I probably will have to look it up, but nothing's ringing up because I remember seeing that name somewhere. Oh, you know what? Hassad. Okay, never mind. Hassad has nothing to do. That's a name.
yeah,
It's
no,
not actually tied.
no,
Never mind.
no,
I take that back.
yeah. But
Okay, okay. Um,
today, after the rise of the Enlightenment and secularism, you do have you had Jews in Germany wanting to secularize Judaism, and that's where you get the conservative movement, the reform movement, the
when you're talking about
reconstructionist movement.
when you're talking about the conservative movement, where
There
ex-
was a
where exactly
it,
does
it
just give me a second to ask this.
yeah.
When it comes down to conservative movement, where exactly do you fall with that? Like, because if I remember correctly, there is a lot that goes against you with that, with your point of view, if I remember correctly. All right, so
I'm sorry for cutting off so suddenly.
no, you're fine. The thing was, I'm just gonna cut out this part here. When there's a
Yeah.
pause, I will cut it out. I'll just have to go
Hmm.
back and like edit all that out. It happens. Don't worry, don't
Yeah.
stress. No worries at all. Uh so here's the thing, instead of bogging everything down with the different denominations and sects,
Yeah.
um the Reconstructionist, Reform, Conservative, Modern, Orthodox, General Orthodox, Chabad, Hasidic,
Yeah.
Heredi, Heredi,
Haredi.
Haredi,
That's ultra orthodox.
Ashkenaz. I cannot say
Ashkenaz Sephardi.
what's the last one they have written there.
It's fun watching uh a non-Jew try to pronounce these words.
It probably is, but the thing is, I just don't want to be stumbling over my words. That
Yeah.
just does not sound
Yeah.
good. But what I was trying to ask you was, where do you
Yes.
fall with this, and what exactly is the problem that you've been trying to work with in your free time? You've talked with some of
Yes.
this to me, and I'm not trying to
Yes.
pry into personal stuff. I'm just trying to say, can you
Yeah.
give a general idea of where you stand with or against your
Yeah.
this with your faith here?
Yeah. I am growing into with I didn't grow up, strictly with the law or any of that. Like I kind of grew up like what we call traditional. Usually it's conservative Judaism that's less lenient. You don't keep everything, but you still hold to some traditions, to Judaism, to heritage. But I've been getting interested. I've been going to a school that promotes modern orthodoxy, which is like I could sum it up in their motto, Torah in the world, that you're trying to be a Jew, a religious Jew,
I
but still be part of society.
what
So
I'm trying to
we all,
specifically.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
but we all face like a challenge. How do we keep our regular secular lives with our Jewish lives? And that's basically the essence of my challenge.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I do not want to be bringing too much of this stuff up
Yeah.
without any consent here because you talked about it. But the thing is, personal struggles that you
Yes.
were trying to find answers to in your faith
Yes.
or outside of it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure which. That's what I'm asking if you feel comfortable with talking about as far as like this is what I'm dealing with and all of that.
Yeah, well, I think I'll just stick with saying that
Okay.
you know, trying to balance my secular life and my Jewish life.
Well, to balance the two, to
Yeah,
find an anchor point. Well, this doesn't directly tie in with with what you're saying here, but this does, in a way, since I got done with working out this morning with a personal trainer. The point is, everyone needs an anchor. When
hmm
it comes down to women, they need men as an anchor generally because it's the way they're wired. Um, Now, I want to say if you try to replace that, sometimes women will latch better onto other people or something else rather than just simply men. Um, it really depends. Everyone has a different calling. But
yeah,
for men, it would generally be their family, their work,
yeah,
or their faith. Now, if you have
mhm,
something built up like a legacy, you can
yeah,
latch to that.
yeah,
So, an anchor point is incredibly important. And if you remember the thing that I sent you,
yeah.
um, let's go back over that real quick.
I think
It's kind
like
of
the
important.
anchor would for me would be the law. I'm definitely interested in that, and it would be good to hold to that. So, like you said, everyone needs an anchor,
Well,
and that's definitely true.
if you're anchoring yourself to the law, this is something that Christians are very stringent
Yeah.
on. With the whole, like, the law is meant to act like you're here
Yes.
to show you where you fail in or where you falter in, to help expose the issues and problems in your
Yeah.
own life. You know, this is the reason why there's a need for a savior. And
Yeah.
people, I know for a fact, and I've heard this plenty of times, you probably have too. People are like, there's just so much evil and garbage in the world.
Yes.
What are we going to do? Like, people lose hope. And I'm just like,
In
doesn't that,
Judaism,
yeah,
you don't rely on someone's individual faith for you rely on the law to prevent you from going near what's bad, what's evil.
the law is needed in order to help protect as well as to
Yes.
judge, um, and to an extent to guide, because when you go
Yes.
beyond the individual self, you have countries to deal with, which is where politics,
hmm
the necessary evil falls into play. I don't like politics, but guess what? It's needed to govern.
Yes. Definitely, I
It's
agree with you.
And some people want to govern by using a mixture of faith and religion, while others would prefer to do might makes right. If you're strong, you can lead. And that is more on like back years ago. I'm just going to throw something out there, but in the time of Genghis Khan, there's in some of the Eastern, back in Japan with some of the rulers, yeah, you've got people who are actually seized power and led for X amount of years. So you have that there as a way to rule. Yeah. Okay. So you still with me?
Yes.
Yeah. Where are you? Oh, before I forget here, Joseph Wolf. That's his nickname. That's his tag. Wait, is that his tag?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
Who?
it's got some numbers and stuff after it. Um, I'm saying this so I don't forget. He may want to join in on the conversation later, but he is a pagan. So that is
Interesting.
Oh, him and I already had a good
Yeah.
discussion about 10 hours ago, I think, around 2 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, him and I, we had some good conversations too. But I was like, dude, wait, hold on. If you want to talk more later, let's save off the good stuff until we're actually like, recording. So we don't just like blow through it all. Because believe me, I've had so many good conversations blown because we didn't record. And
Oof.
for better or worse, sometimes we can go back and cover them, but that's only I think happened like one time. Uh, yeah. So I would rather record some of the better conversations the first time around rather than just be like, all right, let's rehearse, let's let's go back over this stuff again because that's not fun for anyone. All right, where are you at here? Let's pull up that list again. Pull up that list. Where are we at? The Talmud, I think, was next on the list here. There was two links for that. All right, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
So Sorry, what'd you say? You cut out again.
Yeah, it said the internet unstable. Yeah.
Um,
Let's move on to the list of what is the Talmud? Talmud or Talmud?
yes, the Talmud. Um, that's something that's really important because there's a lot of um, a lot of Christians use that for as a source of anti-Semitism. Because
Wait, hold on. Is it an actual book? Is it?
yes, it's a book. I'd call it a hypertext. Now, I just love that word because it draws from many sources and it involves many different topics, many different debates and stuff. So it's not a singular book,
Is
not
it official?
one. Yes,
Okay, so okay, and is it fixed? Is it finished? Like, are they done adding to it?
it's
Are they done
fixed.
making it? Okay, okay.
It's fixed. In the 6th century, a group of rabbis, the majority of rabbis approved it. They wrote it down and they sealed it. They literally said they sealed it.
They sealed the first one or the only one? Because
The only Talmud.
yes, they
It,
were scholars
yeah.
that did
Yes.
copy some works, some art, some of their books and stuff. Um, they would use parchment and actually record. That was some of the jobs of the scribes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
are you saying that this was the only one that was ever written and recorded and then sealed?
Well, there was actually two versions of it.
Okay.
One that was made in Jerusalem in the the 4th century, I think, and then in Babylon in the 6th century.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
we use the Babylon one because it incorporates the Jerusalem Talmud in it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, and
I could actually see
yeah,
that.
yeah,
The Babylonians were quite the people.
yeah,
They were. They definitely were
yes,
quite the people. I have not done a specific study on the Babylons outside of
yeah,
the Bible and what's in them per
yeah,
se. Uh, I want to say them and the Persians are probably the most interesting groups of people. And I want to
yes,
say the book of Daniel actually does go quite into a bit of some of that stuff.
it does.
So yeah, there's
And the
interesting
Book
stuff.
of Esther, the Book of Esther too.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes. That
Yes,
entire book is like a story that
it is.
the kids are told that story of Queen Esther all the
It is.
time. If you remember, like the Adventures in Odyssey, they would go into some of this stuff, as well as there's something else too. I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure it was mostly tied around Adventures in Odyssey with
Yeah,
Wit, Eugene, and
yeah,
Connie. If you remember
yeah,
those characters, I know other people will remember
yeah.
those characters for sure.
But anyway, let's get back to the
Oh
Talmud. I
yeah,
just want
sorry,
to bring
sorry.
up a couple of pieces of context.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
it originated with our narrative kind of goes like this: that Ezra and Nehemiah and the last prophets established something called the Men of the Great Assembly, and they started establishing um, the law, and they made the foundation of rabbinic Judaism, this Men of the Great Assembly, such as things like establishing a set prayer. Um,
Yep.
instead of sacrifices. So then eventually during the Second Temple period, they created the scribes, the Pharisees created the Mishnah, which are short sayings, short teachings
Uh, uh,
that that are meant to be taught orally. Then they wrote it down because people were forgetting it. Then based on then in Jerusalem and Babylon, after the temple fell, they had discussions on the oral law, lots of discussions, and all those discussions were sealed in the Talmud.
yep.
So
It's
that's
yeah.
the important context.
I was going to say, talking about short topic, short lessons,
Yes.
written lessons triggered a
Hmm.
memory because I remember sitting in the Mormon church and them talking about these short lessons as well that are tied very closely to the parables. The
Mm.
one that comes to mind was the one about the weeds growing up alongside the plants, except they called it by a different name and not by the one that's actually in the Bible. I'm trying to remember the name of it itself, not the one where the grass, the seed was thrown alongside on a rocky path and on good soil.
Sounds kind of metaphorical, poetic.
It's
There's a lot of
basically
that in the Bible.
it's basically they called it a different name other than the parable of I can't remember, but
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to say is
Yeah.
what you said there triggered that memory of
Yeah.
these short teachings and stuff because that's going
Yes.
to be very popular among different
Yes,
faiths and
that
beliefs and
is.
all that.
You guys have, you teach in stories, and the Muslims have hadiths, which
Oh,
are which are also similar. They're short teachings, they're short phrases based on like commentary on the Quran.
I'm going to keep
And
that in mind if I ever do run into
yeah,
someone who wants to talk about that
yes.
stuff who is Muslim because that
I
that
would
actually is
love
somewhat interesting.
I just ran into an old friend of mine who's Muslim, and
Oh.
I'm hoping I could talk to him about that.
Well, if you do,
Because
please,
yes.
yes, if you do, please pass on saying that I'm interested in talking to Muslims,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
face to face or record discussion. Either
Yeah.
one's fine. When it comes down to other people, I am okay with talking about two other people about as long as there are specific topics and discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because there's a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I very much want to meet people in the middle if they
Yeah.
are willing to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Witches and warlocks and anyone who has supposed powers and abilities, I am okay with talking to them, but I do want to make sure that they know it's there to learn, to share, to discuss,
Right.
not
Right.
in any way, shape, or form trying to cause any issues, drama, or confrontation, because that is exactly what happened between me and that last witch, as far as like why she just shut down and then quit and didn't really like talk to me at all. Why that the problem
Mm.
popped up to begin with. Now, the thing is, this is my personal view. Even if we believe something else, many of us are still on the same path in the same even if we're
Yes.
not on the same path, we're in the same direction because guess what, we're choosing to believe that there is something out there and we're going to follow it.
And we
So
also were trying to do good and trying to stop bad. That's the essence of it.
uh, when it comes down to our friend, okay, we got like what 10 minutes left here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got like 10 minutes left. So here's the thing: when it comes down to our friend Hayes, who is
Yeah.
a Satanist, so to speak, good is objective because it
Yes.
can just basically be not about God, not about an entity, but hey, what benefits ourselves. So, and this leads off into something very interesting. I'll go briefly down it because it's does not it ties in, but it's not that important. I think, in a sense, the name of my channel, my entire goal and objective actually could fall under either what is cult like or occultic because it's not trying to combine what is biblical and what is biblical and what is spiritual, but it is trying to find an understanding for discussion between all of that, if that makes sense. So coming to a place of learning to see what we
Mm-hmm.
can gather together to discuss rather than just being screaming at each other saying you're wrong, I'm right, because there's nothing that is gained or beneficial to anyone. Maybe it's just the friends that I've had, the people I've talked to, and the people who I've been able to talk to discuss this stuff with that has actually opened my mind. I mean, some of the stuff is incredible. Anyway, I just wanted to add to what you're saying. I'm not trying to change it.
Yeah.
What else about the Talmud without, like I said, we don't have much time left,
Yeah.
and that that you were gone for about 5 minutes,
Yeah.
the part that I had to cut out and all that. Was there anything else that you want to add on about that? I will link
So
that video that you have down below.
yes,
The What is the Talmud? That was a crit. I will
it
link it
is.
down
It
below.
is very interesting. It's good. The Talmud has a lot of topics, and and anti-Semites love to just boil it down to if it says Jesus, if it says something bad at Jesus, the whole thing should just it's bad, it's evil, it's satanic. And a lot of these stories, that's a lot. It mentions Jesus, but if you actually learn about the Talmud, there's multiple people living in different time periods that around the same time Jesus lived, but not the exact same time. So it could not be. It may not be him. Your Jesus, and also it's parable. It may have not even really happened the way it says.
it there are multiple Jesus that were recorded.
Yes.
One was leading a rebellion. The one that I remember was leading a rebellion that was actually killed, and it was a very small.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was barely a footnote in whatever
Yeah.
text that I had read, but it was
Yeah.
enough to say, "Hey, we killed a guy named Jesus already. Who's this Jesus?" And that is not directly referenced or even asked
Exactly.
in the scripture, but it was. I want to say, I think it was Caesar. It was either Pontius Pilate or Caesar who asked a question about, like, hey, is this the same Jesus that we had to deal with earlier? Or I'm paraphrasing.
Yes. Because there was the link I sent you mentions one with Yeshua
Yeah.
ben Prachya, an encounter with the Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachya, and it says he had a student named Jesus, but Yeshua ben Prachya lived at the time of the Asmoneans, 100 BC, during the reign of Yochanan Hyrcanus, the high priest,
Yeah.
which is 100 years before Jesus was even born.
Mm. That is a little bit later than, just a couple days later down the road. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what I do know is that when things are recorded within a year or two, a couple years afterward,
Yeah.
it's fairly accurate. But when you
Yeah.
start going past the decade,
Yeah.
things start being stretched to the point where,
Yeah.
is this even historical factual anymore? There's a
Mhm.
video that I saw that people like to just dump garbage all over
Yeah.
simply because this guy says, hey, let's look at one of the authors of the Quran. Um, let's look into his personal life. Is he a liar? Has he
Hmm.
what kind of person he's like? And
Yeah.
they're judging the entire.
Yeah.
I want to say the Quran that he written and the other Qurans, the ones that he all had written, because I want to say, if I remember correctly, it was like two. I shouldn't even say that. Anyway, judging a book that is considered holy by a faith or religion by the author itself
Yeah.
is interesting. I don't really
Yeah.
want to say whether or not that's right or wrong,
Yeah.
but accuracy is incredibly
Yeah.
important for a faith or belief. And if it is off, I believe the whole thing is off.
But here's the second thing. It's a parable about if you want to read it's a parable about how to forgive someone. And it says later on Yeshua ben Prachya forgave Jesus for what he did. It was about not to push someone away too soon. That's the whole point of this
Okay.
section in the
Okay.
Talmud.
I was
So
going to
it,
say
it
that I
seems like it's just a parable, just a story to teach a lesson.
forgiving itself is a whole different
Yeah,
topic that can go
yeah,
down like a whole hour,
yeah,
talking about why it matters,
yeah,
why it doesn't matter, why you
yeah,
should forgive, and why you should not forgive. There's
yeah,
different reasons upon that. I don't want to touch upon it. I'm saying I acknowledge it, but I'm moving on for the sake of time here. That's interesting. Thank you. Wow.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I'm afraid to say anything else. When it comes down to Mormonism, Later Day Saints, we got something here, but
yeah,
probably uh Ternius Rufus, a Roman governor, challenged the famous Talmudic scholar to debate time and again.
Let me open that link
I don't
if you
know.
want to talk about it.
We got like 3 minutes left.
All right. So
I don't think that. Okay, let's save that for later because that looks
yeah,
like it's quite a bit.
yeah,
The Kabbalah, we probably should just do an entire thing
yes,
for Kabbalah itself because you said there's many layers, people
yes.
associated with the mystical. I have an idea on how to actually write this down. Okay, I have something.
Okay.
Let's talk about that
Yeah,
later. I have something here. I will get you a list. Okay,
yeah.
just
That's fine.
I
We
would say
tortured that a lot already. So
my mornings have been significantly altered by going back to the gym and getting you know a private why am I blanking on the name of it? Getting a private instructor to help me make sure that I'm doing the best I can with lifting. Because here's the thing: I know
that's
how to
good.
lift, I know all this stuff, but I don't know how to put together a routine in order to actually maximize it. I will say this, since this just to kind of finish this off, and it's something I wanted to talk about with, but I actually want to start the whole thing off with. Remember what I was saying about when I passed this on from the personal trainer, the link between us needing an antagonist in our life and when that is not present, we should choose stress. Going to the gym,
Yeah.
working out our issues. I want to
Hmm.
say this is incredibly important because here's the thing. We are focusing, okay, those who go to the gym are focusing on their bodies, who focusing on improving, or just simply as an anchor. We're coming back here to this place that we are comfortable with. And there's other reasons why people go to the gym. Me, I'm going back there for health related reasons. But non physically speaking, you could be talking about the mind. For men of faith, you could be talking about the soul. Stress and being and antagonists look differently in each layer.
The meeting's about to end. If you want to wrap it up.
Oh, that was basically it. I'm going to go into a
All
whole
right.
video talking about that
Yeah.
because that is incredible. That just kind of blew my mind as far as all that.
Send
I
me a
will end.
link when you make it.
I will end with this. Rebuilding yourself requires physical effort.
Mm.
Rewrapping yourself has to do with your faith and belief and just fixing the parts that don't fit anymore with something else that you've come across that fits you. Rewiring has to do with your mind, the chemical parts, like porn, for example. You get heavily into porn, parts of